Reaction Tuesday, normally Monday, but Tuesday today, presented by TDECU. It is Landry Locker. It is Cody Stoots with you. Texans coming off a loss where, let's just be honest, the score, it really doesn't tell the whole story as to just how in control Seattle was in this game. Quite frankly, the Texans very fortunate to end up losing by the amount they did. And if you ask me, I think this is the worst offensive coaching performance that I've ever witnessed in my entire life in all of sports. I think when you factor in everything that was done, the decisions that were made, I think coming off the bye week, I completely overestimated Nick Caley. And I could not, if you would have told me that they were going to make the personnel decisions, we won't even get into the play calling, but if you would have told me that they were going to make the personnel decisions that they decided to make in this game, I wouldn't have been able to fathom it. I would have told you were crazy. And I said this yesterday to start the post-game show. I would have bet everything I own on the Seattle Seahawks, and I would not have looked back. This was embarrassing, pathetic. You see the thumbnail. This is Bobby Slowick never had a point this low in his entire tenure. And I think we need to start looking beyond just the offensive linemen and just Nick Caley and start to wonder if maybe the manner in which DeMeco Ryans functions, whether it's practice or whatever, needs to get a closer look.
Yeah, this is just pathetic. It's one of the most uninspiring offensive performances from a team that had some momentum that I've ever seen. And I've seen some pretty putrid Texans offensive performances. And the tough part is we shouldn't be comparing it to some of the offensive outputs of David Culley's Texans or Lovie Smith's Texans or some of those bad Bill O'Brien's Texans. But my goodness, that's where it is. Like, and those teams had some excuses. Like, where's the excuse for this team? Like, it's not supposed to look like this. This organization made wholesale changes to the offense in the offseason. They swapped out the offensive coordinator. They swapped out numerous players. And somehow, some way, portions of the season, it looked like last year. And then the worst part is a lot of the time, it's looked worse than last year. Even Bobby Slowick at his lowest would not have perpetrated something like what we saw last night. That was awful. And Nick Caley has no feel for the job title that he has. He has no feel for the headset and the game and what type of team he is coaching. And for all the bluster and conversation about no more square peg, round hole, we're going to accentuate the strengths of this team, they lied. They lied to me. They lied to you, and they lied to the fans because they are square pegging, round holing the crap out of this offense. And week after week, if it's not a bunch of backups over there defending them, they look lost and incompetent on offense. The entirety of the offense looks lost and incompetent if it's not a bunch of backup level football players defending them.
We appreciate everyone for rolling through. It is Reaction Tuesday. Landry Locker, Cody Stoots with you. Look, we're just going to be honest about where the squad is. We're not going to stop covering the squad. We're going to be in DeMeco's Zoom. We're going to be at the stadium. It's not an optional thing, but it's also not optional to call it what it is, which is the most piss poor display that I've seen in a long time for a number of reasons. I want to start, Cody, with the three things, because we asked this question a lot during a bye week. We asked this question a lot. Well, what adjustments are we going to see after the bye? Like what could we see perhaps the offensive decision makers in DeMeco Ryans do after the bye? For example, could we see some more of maybe Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins, the rookie wide receivers? So will we see them implemented into the offense a little bit more? Could we see that? Could we see perhaps more Woody Marks? I think that was probably the most popular thing. Woody Marks. Does Woody Marks get a larger chunk of the pie? And do they decide to use him a little bit more? Do we see changes when it comes to the way in which they attack? Maybe some up-tempo or something like that. DeMeco Autry. How do we see DeMeco Autry fit in? By the way, that looked pretty good. Go figure. The Texans, when it comes to implementing guys on defense, they have kind of a clue, but when it comes to offense, they can't really do it. what was it going to look like? That was the question we asked. What was Nick Caley doing? What did it do? He did 3 things, Cody. And I can't believe I'm saying this with a straight face. I woke up today thinking there is no way that they made the decisions that they made yesterday during this game. It's one thing to get your ass kicked by Seattle. They're a pretty good team. I mean, they're a pretty good team. But the 3 things that the Texans decided during this bye week that they were going to do, that they just had to do, wasn't to play Jalen Noel more. Matter of fact, Jalen Noel didn't even return punts. The guy who has displayed the most explosiveness on the entire team didn't even return punts this week. Instead, Braxton Berrios, who probably wouldn't have even been active had Christian Kirk been healthy, he not only returned punts, he was getting as many offensive snaps as Jalen Noel early on until they actually needed plays to be made. And then they decided to go to Jalen Noel at the last second. So decision 1 was, we're going to let Braxton Berrios play more than Jalen Noel because Christian Kirk isn't playing. That was decision 1. Decision 2 was, and I cannot believe this, we were actually joking about this. Decision 2 was that guard who's been ranked one of the worst guards in the NFL the last few seasons, who Seattle Seahawks fans before the game were literally laughing, saying, we want to see Laken Tomlinson.
Got their wish.
They got their wish. The guy who's been benched the last 2 weeks when the Texans have been winning games, the guy who got benched, they decided, you know what? We want to start this guy and we want to rotate him. And not only do we want to do that, when it's 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, and we decide to go for it in a 1-possession game at midfield, which, by the way, kind of seemed weird too, given the way that the game went, we're going to run right behind him. So that was decision number 2. We're going to get Laken Tomlinson more involved because we just got to see more of Laken Tomlinson at guard. So that was decision 2. Decision 3, and this one's just as astonishing, was the guy who fumbled away our week 1 game, the guy who wasn't playing offensive snaps for a large chunk of the aftermath of that. Dare Ogunbowale, we got to get him back in the mix to the point where CJ Stroud made a hell of a play at the end of the first half, despite Dare Ogunbowale completely whiffing and providing the defender with an absolute opportunity for a kill shot. Another time where Dare Ogunbowale drops a ball where perhaps the Texans end up going for it there near midfield. The 3 things they decided to do, Cody, were get Laken Tomlinson back in the mix, get Dare Ogunbowale back in the mix, and get Braxton Berrios in the mix as much as Jalen Noel. That's what they decided. I can't believe I'm saying that right now with a straight face, and I cannot believe, I don't know whose decision this is, but DeMeco Ryans has got to have some sort of like dignity or some sort of grasp of things to where he doesn't let this happen. That is absolutely insane. Ogunbowale played 12% of the snaps. You look at Braxton Berrios. Braxton Berrios played 47% of the offensive snaps. That's 4 more percent than what Jalen Noel played. And then you have Laken Tomlinson, who plays 57% of the snaps to Juice Scruggs' 43%. Just an absolute confusing disgrace that was put on that was put out there yesterday.
That was just, I mean, all of those are baffling decisions. I mean, Braxton Berrios has been a healthy scratch for weeks. Even in the preseason, it's not like he was repping a ton with CJ Stroud. Remember when CJ Stroud in the first couple of weeks when they're struggling on offense was like, yeah, just really haven't had as many reps with those guys. Well, you know who else he hasn't had a lot of reps with in games? Braxton Berrios. But let's put him out there by all means. The Dare Ole, I mean, you knew that was coming as soon as he got in there. And if he's not Olaying the defender into CJ Stroud's lap, he's going out there and as the running back, God and everybody, except for the 11 guys on offense for the Houston Texans, watched some safety I've never heard of playing as a backup because the Seahawks had 2 of their best defensive backs not available last night. God and everybody watches this safety walk up to the line of scrimmage, Quarterback doesn't ID it. Okay, well, if the quarterback doesn't pick it up, surely the blocking scheme's ready for it. No, the former third down running back specialist, Daria Gumwale, goes and he blocks the wrong guy, and that guy gets a free run at CJ Stroud. And obviously CJ Stroud gets sacked. And then the what does the guard rotation accomplish? Like is one guy better at run blocking than pass blocking? Like, is one guy better at pass blocking? Like, what does it accomplish? Neither of those guys were on the injury report last week, so you can't tell me, oh, well, Juice is hurt or Lakin's hurt, so we had to give him some snaps off. DeMeco Ryans on record many times in his career as a head coach, offensive linemen don't come off the field. Well, except for the Houston Texans when they take a guy off the field at left guard to put in another guy. And it doesn't matter who they play. Both of them on their best day couldn't be average right now. So but to have that be a strategy that you go to out of the bye week is baffling. And you know what it felt like, Landry? And we talked about it when the offense had like 5 quarters of watchable football. It felt like the old teacher that was sitting in the back of the classroom that makes sure nobody acts up. It felt like he went back to his classroom and then all the kids started acting up again. It felt like the extra set of eyes that DeMeco Ryans put on the offense wasn't there. So Nick Caley went back to all the bullshit that didn't work the first 3 weeks and went back to all the veterans that aren't worth a hoot instead of playing a bunch more of those young guys. Like, it's just absolute pathetic decision-making by the offense. And to allow that to happen as the head coach, that is a huge miss by DeMeco Ryans.
Yeah, and right now, I just wonder if it's something that is deeper than just the OC. Like the way in which they practice, because there's really no urgency. They do the same thing. Like this was Shaq Mason all over again. The decision to put Lakin Tomlinson in there, maybe worse, if we're being completely honest. And on top of that, I will say this. I know that he's considered a victim, and I think it's kind of simped out to just act like CJ Stroud's not Deshaun Watson in 2017-18. This isn't that, or 2020. This isn't that. A lot of the throws that CJ Stroud is making are not even catchable. They're not even catchable balls. There's multiple plays each game, and there were multiple plays this game where CJ Stroud he's making throws where the ball isn't even catchable. And the other thing that I don't understand is, when is it and when is it not okay to run a QB sneak? Yesterday I saw the Detroit Lions. Yesterday I saw the Detroit Lions run a QB sneak and right at Vita Vea. Like it's crazy. This is now the second time the Texans have had a nice hard run down to the 1 yard line, and then after that they just decide they don't want to run the ball. And then at the end of the game, with 2:50 left, the Texans decide that they're going to run a stretch play and take 45 seconds off the clock. And I don't know whose fault that is, but that happens. And then it puts you in a situation where everybody knows you got to kick the ball out of bounds, and the Texans don't kick the ball out of bounds, and they give themselves no chance. And then, oh, by the way, Tim Settle just decides to jump on a pile, which was actually the perfect way to end the game, if you ask me. Yeah, it was actually the perfect way to end the game. But CJ Stroud, the balls that he is throwing, and there was one that Nico dropped. I acknowledge that, but a lot of them aren't even catchable, Cody. They're like, as soon as Nico Collins left the game, Jaden Higgins is wide open, and CJ Stroud's throwing uncatchable balls. So it's not CJ Stroud is not excluded from what's going on right now. I said this yesterday. I think with Deshaun Watson in either 17, 18, 19, 20, if you put him on this team, I think they're at least 4-2.
Yeah, quarterback hadn't been good enough. I mean, not anywhere good. The stuff that he's in control of, which was a conversation we had about last year. I mean, the stuff that he's in control of, he's not getting it done. I mean, you're right. How many times, and I want to talk about the passing because I have a very weird example from the fourth quarter that didn't make a lot of sense to me with how CJ Stroud operated. But how many times does a quarterback have a clean operation on a snap and lose 18 yards and nearly get a safety?
Well,
and you know what's funny? As soon as Braxton Berrios, who inexplicably is returning punts after being a healthy scratch, as soon as he didn't catch that ball and it landed inside the 4, I thought, oh, God, they're going to get a safety. But then they got a first down, and I was like, oh, okay, good. At least they're not going to get a safety. Wrong. Nearly got a safety on that play because CJ Stroud just bailed out on the play trying to do too much because there's times when he's trying to do too much, and he just makes horrible decisions. But I felt like the drive, their first drive in the fourth quarter, they operated as an offense, and the quarterback operated as an offense that was down by 27 points, not 15 points. He just went out there and just threw 3 uncompetitive footballs, and they punted. And I was like, he just throwing it to throw it on that drive.
You had an incompletion to Nico where Nico got hurt,
which he's done for at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, that happens.
He's in concussion protocol now.
So Nico, you had the incomplete pass. Then you had Higgins, perfect route right down the sideline. CJ Stroud overthrows him. And then the Hutchinson play where Hutchinson doesn't even have a chance to catch the ball. It was three uncatchable balls that CJ threw.
Yeah.
And it's it's crazy because the personnel, the Stroud situation, all that, it's just not good. I thought Dan Orlovsky was going to lose his mind. Like, I've never seen a coach, an offensive coach, that exposed on the national stage, as exposed as Nick Caley was by Dan Orlovsky. Like, he was getting absolutely destroyed, and he was really kind of every Houston person's spirit animal with the decisions that they made. They get down to the goal line, and there's no hope. They decide that they're gonna throw when they shouldn't throw, and then they decide they're gonna run when they shouldn't run. It's not as simple as just the second guessing. It's clear as day that they just don't know what they're doing, and I don't know. Like, the question would be, what do you do? Like, how would you handle Nick Caley? Like, what would you do right now with Nick Caley? Or do you think it's deeper than Nick Caley?
Well, yes and yes. It is deeper than Nick Caley, but Nick Caley's also a huge part of the problem. Like, he is a symptom that comes from the root of the failure of this organization. But you, at least, if you're DeMeco Ryans, you at least have to have a conversation with yourself and whoever your most trusted advisor is in the organization about having a different offensive coordinator. But there's a big problem with that. But you at least have to have that offense. You at least have to have that conversation that, hey, if we had a different guy with the headset, could we salvage this season? Could we be more consistent offense? Could we get more out of what we do have over on offense? You at least have to have that conversation with yourself and in the mirror and with whoever your most trusted person is if you're DeMeco Ryans. Here's the big problem, though, Landry, is they were in the middle of an offense that couldn't get it done last year. They had an offense last year that was poorly coached. The offensive coordinator looked like he was in over his head, and nobody on the coaching staff could help him. And a much more impressive season was on the line, and they still stuck with that offensive coordinator and didn't make a change to any of the guys that were in the building on offense. And all those same guys still coach in the building. So if you wouldn't turn to Gerard Johnson or Bill Lazor or Ben McDaniels or whoever the hell else on offense in the middle of last year's Bobby mess to try to save a season that had far more promise than this one, how could you turn to any of those guys here to try to save a season that is teetering on the brink of disaster? That's another huge issue because, again, you look back to the offseason and it's like, oh, well, they only added 2 new faces to the entire offensive staff, and then they promoted another guy. And those were the only significant changes they made on offense. Like, no one's coming to save Nick Caley. Nick Caley clearly can't get out of his own way. And so if you're DeMeco Ryans, you at least have to think about, okay, with something different, even though it may not be super impressive, but with something different than what we've been doing, salvage what this offense is doing. They've at least got to have the thought about having a new play caller on offense.
It is Reaction Tuesday presented by TDECU. Coming up, Cody's going to give credit where it is due, presented by the greatness that is TDECU. Before that, though, let's hear from the peeps. Let's go to the super chat here on a Reaction Tuesday.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Mushroom 713 says, can y'all ask DeMeco and Caley, seeing Nolan Mark's production, would we expect the game plan to would we expect the game plan to be around Dare and Berrios since it's veteran bias? I don't know what it is. I'm shocked by it. I thought it was over. Like Laken Tomlinson and Dare Gumbawale, they needed to get back in there. It's absolutely crazy. It's bat bleak crazy.
It's just like DeMeco Autry playing instead of Darrell Taylor. That makes a lot of sense. Like Darrell Taylor's been a huge disappointment. It's $5 million they wasted in the offseason. Darrell Taylor being an inactive, healthy scratch, and DeMeco Autry playing, like, that makes sense. Like DeMeco Autry, he's got a proven track record. He's been a really good football player when he's been on the field. I know he was banged up last year and had the suspension, all that kind of stuff. Like, that one makes sense. Throwing the ball, Braxton Berrios has 69 targets in 3 seasons before he got to the Houston Texans on offense. And they ran him out there early in the game before they put Jalen Noel on the field. And then what happened when they put Jalen Noel on the field? Oh, damn. Explosive plays, big plays. Wow, that's crazy. And then later in the game, oh, this was disgusting. They decided to get creative with how they wanted to throw the football, and they ran a screen to Braxton Berrios, who lined up in the backfield.
I thought the low point for Braxton Berrios, and this was just, I was actually, and I don't know if the equipment manager needs to be questioned too. There was a lot of slipping. I don't know what kind of shoes CJ wears. I think he was wearing the new Nike Air Cements or something like that, because he wasn't running and he was tripping and falling all over the place. He looked like he was playing in flip-flops. But I thought it was funny when it's kind of a 2-possession game. It actually ended up getting a little bit interesting. Michael Dixon of the Seattle Seahawks is punting in his own end zone, and I thought maybe they would put Jalen Noel back there. By the way, Frank Ross doesn't get a free pass for this.
No, that's terrible by Frank.
He's getting called. He's getting called the fuck out when they get there. He's gonna have some explaining to do too with the Jalen Noel thing. But the Braxton Berrios trips and falls on the return near midfield. Like he literally just trips and falls. And it's crazy. Like, just make Jalen Noel inactive. Like, if y'all like Braxton Berrios that much, like, don't hide it. Don't make Jalen Noel bail you out, like, at the end of the first half, and then at the end of the game when he gets inside the 5-yard line. Like, just go ahead and make him inactive. Like, don't hide your feelings, because the fact that Christian Kirk being inactive means that Jalen Noel's pushed behind Braxton Berrios in more ways than one is just one of the most asinine, insane things that I've ever seen in my entire life. It really is. Like, you drafted this guy with the luxury pick. He clearly can play. Like, it's not, sometimes you find yourself kind of questioning because these coaches and DeMeco Ryans. Hey, by the way, DeMeco, could you come across as any more of a meathead? By the way, you're not willing to call out any players. You coddle players more than anything, but then you want to call out the kicker. Good job, man. Good job. You call out Kaimi Fairbairn for what the plan was, but when it comes to an offensive lineman or anything like that, you can't do it. That's awesome. Why don't you stuff him in the locker while you're at it? That's an absolute joke. But Braxton Berrios being out there, it made no sense, especially given the fact for why it happened and what we saw from Jalen Noel in a short time. This is Bill O'Brien. This is Bill O'Brien. The rookies don't know anything. This is exactly what it is. And the crazy thing is now they'll be forced to play rookies. And he'll be like, oh, they've come along. No, they were ready to go. They were ready to go from the beginning. Jaden Higgins got open yesterday. CJ Stroud missed him. Jaden Higgins has made plays when given the opportunity. Jalen Noel has made plays when given the opportunity. Woody Marks has made plays when given the opportunity. By the way, Woody Marks, that hustle play where he bails the Texans out again near their own goal line. Another fantastic play from Woody Mark. They probably didn't care though, because they were probably just more impressed that Braxton Berrios recovered the fumble. They probably looked at that as like the big thing. But it's just embarrassing that the guys that they decide to play and the guys they decide not to.
I mean, and it's a much smaller level than the Berrios and the Laken Tomlinson crap. But like they threw the ball to Nick Chubb again. You know what happened? He didn't catch it because he's not a good pass catching running back.
And that was, by the way, CJ looked like he could run, but he decided to throw it to the side to Nick Chubb. Hey, use two hands, Nick. Like even then, like be an athlete, be a football player. Like I see players all Sunday, all Saturday catch that ball. Like you're running side by side with him. Like be an athlete and catch the ball. Like the Nick Chubb thing is interesting as well. Wags on the chat says morning all offense laid a turd, but defense helped them in the game. Hey, for a while they had the only touchdown. Yeah, the defense gave chance after chance after chance after chance. And here's the reality of it too. CJ Stroud kind of got lucky because CJ Stroud started off the game running into a safety. There's no other way to say it. That should have been a safety. He ran into a 15-yard lost safety. And then
18 yards.
18. He ran into an 18-yard safety, and then he threw a ball backwards that probably should have been a touchdown for the other team. And as a result of luck, the lowlights kind of get swept away as kind of breaths of fresh air. But when you talk about butt fumble, when you talk about Dan Orlovsky running back into a safety and all that type of stuff, by the way, Orlovsky was on top of it yesterday. But when you talk about that, like CJ Stroud actually kind of lucked out in those areas.
And when he throws a baffling interception that like, dude, what do you do? Like you're throwing the ball to a spot where the linebacker's coming forward and your guy has to come across into a window, like totally idiotic throw. The defense bails him out by holding him to 3. When a touchdown would have basically just put him away, the defense held him to 3. Like he got bailed out time and time again, and he made some horrendous, almost game-changing mistakes. And he got bailed out. The officials bailed him out, Marks bailed him out, and the defense bailed him out.
ESG, whoa, we got nepotism being claimed. He says nepotism is the root of our problems. These Patriots are not ready or prepared to do their job. They were not qualified for their jobs. They got hired because of their connections with Caserio. I think Caley was qualified. I think his next step was being an offensive coordinator. I just don't think he's good at it. Like I keep hearing, well, you need a first-time a guy who's called plays before. I think that's dumb. I don't agree with that. Like Tampa Bay has a first-time play caller. I think the Lions right now have a first-time play caller. Like it's not that. It's just the fact that Nick Caley doesn't know what he's doing. Like Nick Caley is not any smarter than the guy sitting on his couch double fisting butt ice and watching the game. Like you play like the Dare Gumbawale and Laken Tomlinson being back in, like that eliminates any and all credibility that Nick Caley has. Like it's actually kind of fascinating. And honestly, Dare Gumbawale shouldn't even be available for him to make that decision at this point. Like that's enough. Like that's just it's kind of enough. Like they need to figure out something. Maybe Frank Ross will cry about it, but that's enough of that. Like great career, awesome. That's enough.
They somehow felt like putting an offensive coordinator in the same ecosystem, maybe worse, was going to produce better results. Because one thing that you would love to have is a good staff around an offensive coordinator. They have basically the same staff as last year that couldn't save Bobby. And now nobody's there to save Nick Caley as he goes out there and perpetrates offensive war crimes against all of us.
It's bad. Wag says Caley needs to be up there in the box so he can
see the defense.
See the defense against him. He shouldn't be calling back-to-back run plays if you can't run the ball. I think Ray Charles could have seen that. I don't know.
Dude, he needs to throw the stupid sweaty hat away. He needs to shave his beard and he needs to call plays from the box. Just something different. Because what he's doing now is not working. Change it all up. Throw the stupid sweaty hat away. Okay, get rid of that. All right, and shave the beard. Okay, that's not working. Change that and call plays from up top. Change that too, because Whatever you're doing now ain't working, bud.
All right, let's get the where credit is due presented by TDECU. Shout out to TDECU, the sponsors of Reaction Monday / Reaction Tuesday today. You can get the Texans debit card at tdecu.org/Texans, 15% off anything in the team shop. It's still a pretty debit card. This is the time probably to buy gear, and it's not all they do. If you decide, hey, I don't want to represent the Texans at this moment, well, I would strongly represent it, but there's a lot of other cards that they have, and there's a lot of other services that they provide. So if you're mad at the Texans or in a love-hate relationship, I still recommend getting the card, but there's a hell of a lot more that they got at tdecu.org/Texans. Membership required, insured by NCUA.
Yeah, get you the Buc-ee's card if you don't want the Texans card. Okay, you can rely on the Beaver when you can't rely on Nick Caley. Where credit is due, presented by TDECU. How about DeMeco Autry in his first action? I thought the tank was empty. Tank very full. Was in on the field goal block that was a 6-point swing right before halftime. Was in on some other plays. Looked like he had way more juice than pretty much any point last year. And that's his first action this season. So good job by DeMeco Autry. Get in there and immediately play well. On the other side, you see Tommy Togiai. I mean, Louis Riddick and Dan Orlovsky, I thought they were ordering Togiai jerseys in the middle of the broadcast. They loved them, some Tommy Togiai. Welcome to the club. We all like Tommy Togiai. We're all wondering why he didn't play the first couple of weeks. That's one of the only times where the defense has had the wrong guy in there. But Tommy Togiai, he had some nice run stops there, got a little bit of pressure on Darnold a time or two. And then Dalton Schultz, where credit is due, something about his eye in the middle of the game. Like he was, but he was out there. He was the only guy that was
dog yesterday. He was a dog
for extra yards.
All the talk about Dalton Schultz last year. Dalton Schultz was an absolute dog yesterday. He played his ass off.
Yeah, he kicked ass for what he was asked to do. He fought for extra yards on that one play where, of course, they threw the ball short of the sticks because if that's what they do. And then he busted through 2 Seahawks and stretched out and took a big hit to get him the first down. So Dalton Schultz, where credit is due for him, back-to-back games where he had just really good performance, and he's kind of holding together that tight end room all by himself because the other 2 guys, persona non grata, they bring nothing to the table. Stop letting Harrison Bryant block. It's awful. Yeah. But where credit is due, presented by TDECU, get you the Texans debit card. Learn more about TDECU at tdecu.org/Texans. You can start the process right there. You can roll into one of those 15 greater Houston area locations to get your membership started at TDECU.
Yeah, mine yesterday was I had Dan Orlovsky on my list and MJ Stewart and Jalen Knoll. Jalen Knoll for keeping his cool. Dan Orlovsky for exposing Nick Caley, and MJ Stewart. He held up nicely. He had the nice turnover that gave the Texans a chance. I bought Nick Caley stock yesterday, so I am one of the foolish ones. I did not fathom that we would see what we saw, and it goes beyond the play calling. But I did not fathom that we would see what we saw yesterday. And speaking of that, let's go to the key moments of the game, and this is going to be an interesting exercise as we go through this. The landlocked key moments here on Reaction Tuesday, presented by TDECU. So I think as we go through this, I think we'll be able to get the grasp on just how in the hell this game was as close as it was. I think there's a few things that we can point to, but it was a good start for the Texans. Like right off the top, they defer and they force a 3-and-out. And it was a good way to start. However, the momentum was kind of killed because immediately after the Texans forced the punt, you look back there and you see the old honky instead of the young kid out of Iowa State back there returning punts. And you're immediately like, okay, well, this must mean that Jalen Knoll is just going to play a crap ton of offense for Christian Kirk. And at least you got a guy back there who can catch punts. If anything, like Braxton Berrios can catch punts. Well, I'll be damned. He calls a fair catch. It bounces over his head, and the Texans immediately start out with bad field position. So I think that was a bad sign of things to come, that your defense immediately does what you want them to do. And then one of your personnel decisions, Frank Ross or whoever the hell's idea that was, it immediately backfires. And the Texans, despite the fact they moved the chains, Dalton Schultz for 13 yards, they then try to throw the ball to Braxton Berrios, because if he can't catch a punt and he can't be inactive, you gotta get him involved in the game plan. So they then decide to throw the ball on the first drive of the game, by the way. Like there's games where Jalen Knoll doesn't even get targets the entire course of the game. They decide not only is Braxton Berrios going to return a punt, we really got to get him involved in this game plan. So they throw an incompletion to him. Then CJ Stroud runs into what should have been a safety, and the Texans kind of catch a break, and right off the top, a good start completely wiped away by Braxton Berrios, just his mere presence on this football team.
Yeah, that was just, I mean, and then surely when a guy like that makes a mistake, when he doesn't catch the football, when he should have caught the football, surely he loses that opportunity. Now, of course, he got to continue to return punts throughout the course of that game. And I don't know who I have to talk to. If I have to write a letter to ESPN Stats and Info, like I'll do it. I promise you, it has been so rare to have a quarterback have a clean snap and end up with an 18-yard loss in the National Football League. I promise you. And then I think it was 2 drives later, Sam Darnold is standing there throwing touchdown passes with 2 defenders like laying on top of him. And it's like, well,
I'll be honest, the thing about CJ Stroud, the craziest thing about CJ Stroud is he has an uncanny ability to go from looking like Josh Allen and then the next play looking like Cam Ward. Like that's one of the craziest things with CJ Stroud is, so right off the top, CJ Stroud gets bailed out because he should have ran into a safety, which would have been kind of appropriate with Dan Orlovsky on the call. And I actually think this safety was more boneheaded than Dan Orlovsky's. Like Dan Orlovsky at least didn't have a lot of room to run. I know it was goofy because it was the back of the end zone, but CJ Stroud literally ran 20% of a football field back into a safety. I can't even really fathom it, but fortunately for him, he was able to get out of that. Then Cody, a guy that we talked about in the draft, a guy by way of Frisco, Texas. We talked about all these guys from Texas. We talked about Murphy. We talked about Ingram. We talked about Jackson Smith and Jigba. But another guy from the state of Texas, Elijah Arroyo from Frisco, he kind of makes a cameo, and he says hello to Derek Stingley, who trips and falls. Then he gets some of Azeez Al-Shire. And then Charbonnet, who, by the way, I got to apologize to him. And I think Seahawks fans might need to, too, because they don't think he's worth a damn either. But Charbonnet caps it off, and Seattle takes a 7-0 lead. Should have been 9-0, but Seattle takes a 7-0 lead, and just an awful start for the Texans.
Elijah Arroyo had 95 yards coming into this game. He had 95 yards coming into this game. He got 35 yards on one drive, including Derek Stingley falling down, which, by the way, I know we're here and we'll talk about it later. And why do you pay a guy $30 million if he can't man up the other team's best wide receiver? And why do you do that? What's the point? But I mean, why is Derek Stingley falling down so much?
Derek Stingley's falling down. Berrios is falling down. CJ Stroud's falling down. Like there were a few people falling down.
And it's like, okay, like, all right, that's what happens when you give an opponent a short field. Is, they put together an efficient drive. They're still early in their game script. They put 7 points on the board. Like, oh, okay, like you can survive that. You can overcome that if you show some semblance of life on offense. But well,
so they take the 7-0 lead. Then the Texans get the ball back, and this one they get down to 3rd and 1, and Woody Marks, by the way, with an incredible catch for 7 yards, like just incredible. And then on 3rd and 1, he gets blown the F up, and the Texans are forced to punt. Then we go to DeMeco's guy. Like this has been a theme for DeMeco Ryans. I know he doesn't want to admit it. Does this fall under the aggressive or dumb category? I don't know. He might grade lenient because it's his guy, but the Texans kind of get sliced up a little bit. Cooper Kupp says, hello, Jalen Petrie. Nice to see you. 32-yard gain on Jalen Petrie. Petrie manning up with Cooper Kupp. You don't want that. That's not ideal. And then on 4th and inches, there is a QB sneak for the Seahawks. They run it with the tight end. Barner moves the chains. Then you have a 3rd and 11. Azeez Al-Shire forces Sam Darnold to the sidelines, and then he decides he wants to put his body weight on Sam Darnold and slam him to the turf. Now, here's the funny thing about this. I saw this quote from Azeez Al-Shire. He said that he didn't hear the whistle. Brother, you were out of bounds. It's not, you don't need to hear a whistle out of bounds. Yeah, maybe you play to the whistle, but in that situation, you just got to have some awareness. This is not a ref issue. I don't even think the biggest Azeez Al-Shire fan is going to justify what happened there. And instead of the Seahawks attempting a field goal to go up 10, they go up 14-0 because of a boneheaded play by Azeez Al-Shire, because on the very next play, Jackson Smith and Jigba scores a touchdown, which, by the way, I kind of think that Jalen Petrie should have some better instincts there. I know there's a little bit of freedom. I know he's kind of looking to the right. Derek Stingley kind of gets turned around a little bit, but I feel like the safety, a better safety, probably could maybe make a play on that ball or at least get a hand on it.
Or maybe you shouldn't have the all-pro cornerback 15 yards off the guy.
Yeah, they're treating Derek Stingley like 10-year vet Jonathan Joseph.
Yeah. Can I go back to the Al-Shire thing?
Yes.
Dude, you think his favorite wrestler is Batista? Because he hit a spine buster like it was a WrestleMania main event on Sam Darnold. Not only would that have been called on pretty much any player, you got the quarterback wrapped up, dude. You've got the quarterback wrapped up. He's not getting any extra yards. It's not like it was
not even trying to. It was a we're going to kick a field goal, good job defense type of thing.
Sam Darnold had quit on the play, and Azeez is carrying him and hits a spine buster that would have made Batista jealous. And it's like, what are you doing, dude? They'd have called it if he'd had any player because they were 4 feet out of bounds, but especially the quarterback. This is just absolute boneheaded decision. You don't need to hear the whistle when you're on the sideline. That's a great point by you, and that's exactly what I thought when I saw Azeez talk about that last night. And then to add on to it, they just right in Derek Stingley's face. He might as well have been the guy standing under the goalpost when Jackson Smith and Jigba went up and dunked it. Vince Carter or Frederick Weiss right there, for you basketball fans.
Speaking of that, help me out a little bit and help me understand on that Smith and Jigba dunk. Why would you not accept the penalty on the kickoff? Is it because of the landing zone situation? What was the reason to accept it on the extra point instead of the kickoff?
My assumption is it is easier for them to hit a knuckleball kick when they're closer to the landing zone. So you can kick the ball on more of a line and not have to worry about the distance that it travels. You kick the ball more straight than up and into the landing zone.
You mean when they're further than from the landing zone? Because they would have to go back 15 yards.
Oh yeah, I guess they're not moving. Yeah, no, I don't know then. I don't know. It made no sense. And I think the broadcast even mentioned they're going to get it on the extra point. I think every coach has always taken that on the kickoff, I thought.
Yeah, I don't know. So do they move the kicker back or do they move everyone back? I'm being honest. I
don't know. I don't know how it works with the new kickoff.
Because if they move everyone back, then that's one of the dumbest things that I've ever seen in my entire life, which we'll get to a little bit later on. But it's not just the kicker. I would assume everybody moves back 15 yards, right?
I guess I know that the rules are different, but last year the Texans got put back and then they kicked it out of bounds and then it moved it back further or something, maybe. Remember when they did that? Maybe that was it. I don't know. It didn't make sense though, because Myers had no problem with it. He just right through the middle. Yeah,
they decided to take it on the extra point. So I really didn't I didn't understand why. That never makes sense to me. And they just hit it in, and that was just kind of a little bit of a sign. But that's the end of a first quarter, the first quarter for the Texans. The worst first quarter of football that there was. We'll resume the game in a sec. Let's go back to the super chat, though. It is S&L Reaction Tuesday with your boy Landry Locker and your boy Cody Stoots.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Tay says release Chubb for Hall. Woody 3 down back equals no. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing.
Hey, you're wasting assets right now if you're trading for somebody until this team proves they can do something. If you want to talk trades, you need to start talking about who other teams might want off this team if you want to talk trades.
Truth says, can we bring an offensive Can we bring an offensive consultant to help Nick? 2, can we play Mills? 3, we need to stop coddling CJ. And 4, can we get someone before the trade deadline? So I'll be honest with you. I'm just being honest. When CJ got banged up with 9 minutes left, I wanted to see what it looked like with Davis Mills. Like I'm not sitting here saying that I thought it would have looked good. I'm not sitting here saying that I thought that Davis Mills should start over CJ Stroud. I wouldn't shape my lips to say something like that, but I just wanted to see what it looked like. Like even in the mop-up duty, all that, get rid of the ball quickly. I just wanted to see what it would have looked like with Davis Mills. I just wanted to get that visual. I thought the game was already lost, and plus CJ looked a little bit banged up, but I wanted to see what it looked like.
Yeah, Stroud was taking tons of hits and tons of unnecessary hits.
They call a 15-yard penalty on the Texans, and then CJ Stroud gets lit up, and they just kind of ignore it in the same vicinity. I don't know what that was about.
Yeah. The offensive consultant, can they bring somebody in? They can. They're not going to. It would have been the perfect week for the Dolphins to fire Mike McDaniel, because you could have got him a first-class ticket over here to help, but
how about Bobby Slowick?
I'd take Bobby's offense. I'd take Bobby's offense right now. And then she asked about the trade deadline again. Start thinking about getting rid of players, not bringing them in.
Geo Central says CJ going to have more control. Does CJ have the ability to audible? You think he could have changed the ball, the bad runs in the third quarter? DNO for OC.
Yeah, CJ Stroud at the line of scrimmage has been a disappointment. He doesn't have a full grasp of this thing. He doesn't identify pressure well. God and everybody saw a safety walking up for a blitz, and he just totally ignored it. They still are in bad protections from time to time, and he's supposed to be helping and in charge of that. So CJ Stroud with more control, it's been a disappointment. It's like a comedic actor trying to be serious. It's not working.
Will Ferrell, that Will Ferrell movie where he's moving and stuff, it sucks.
Stranger than fiction.
Trash. It's the whole notion that it's better for CJ Stroud to have more control. I didn't really buy that, and I'm a little bit more confused by it. Now, just throw catchable balls and maybe you're in a different position. Alex Cruz says, my rankings on why the Texans lost. I like these. Shout out to him.
Damn it, Bobby.
And shout out to Bobby Slowick. I gotta give him his flowers. I miss you, Bobby.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Alex Cruz says, my rankings on why the Texans lost. Number 1, Nick Caley. Number 2, game management. Number 3, Stroud. Number 4, unequal officiating. Damn. Number 5, offensive line. Number 6, dumb mistakes. Okay.
I would move.
I like that you put offensive line at 5 because I think you're letting them off the hook by just blaming the offensive line. The Chargers are running a functioning offense with their 7th string and 8th string tackles. You brought this up, Cody.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And there's depleted offensive lines all over the NFL. That we've seen this before. There's something about the way the Texans practice. I'm telling you, however DeMeco Ryans runs his practices is a problem. When it comes to getting out of the huddle, when it comes to seeing things, however DeMeco Ryans practices is a problem. I'm telling you, it has to be, because this is the exact same thing. And you look around the league, teams they look more, they function more, they know what they're doing. I think they're hiring the wrong OCs, but I also think however DeMeco Ryans runs his practices is a problem for an offense.
The Cincinnati Bengals have one of the worst offensive lines in the entirety of football. One of the worst. They had a quarterback who'd been in the building for less than 2 weeks against the Pittsburgh freaking Steelers. And Joe Flacco went out there and threw for 340 yards and 3 touchdowns. And they kept him clean in that game compared to what CJ Stroud deals with.
Because Joe Flacco knows how to get rid of the ball. He knows how to see things, all that.
I don't want to take away from Joe. I watch every team across the league. It's not that hard to operate offense. Like, if it's too complicated for the QB to operate, dumb it down for him. Like, they ran a dumbed down version of the offense, and Flacco threw for 340 and 3 touchdowns against the Steelers on a short week with a bad offensive line. And the Texans are coming off a fucking bye week, and they go out there and they're playing patty cake with a rotation at left guard, and the quarterback's throwing uncatchable footballs.
Wild. Just absolutely wild. All right, so
the Bengals had less days to get ready with Joe Flacco than the Texans had to get ready for this one, and they looked like the freaking greatest show on turf compared to what the Texans looked like.
Hey, yo. All right, so we go to the second quarter. 14-0 Seattle, by the way. Now, this one, not on CJ. CJ Stroud makes a hell of a back shoulder throw to Nico Collins. Now, this gets negated by an Ariante Ursary penalty. It was a pass interference and an Ariante Ursary penalty. Apparently, he wants to run down the field and sprint on a pass play. It wasn't even like the pocket collapsed and there was a lot of time. For whatever reason, Ariante Ursary decides he just wants to run down the field. Then Nico Collins with a drop where he may have had a touchdown, to be honest with you. Like, CJ Stroud, probably the best play he makes all game. He puts it right in Nico Collins' hands, and Nico Collins drops the ball. Can we be honest about something, too? Nico Collins hasn't been that good this year. I'm not sitting here saying it's his fault, but Nico Collins has not played like one of the best receivers in the league.
Nope.
I think they need to get him involved more often. I would agree with that. But he's also fumbled away a game against the Jags, and he's dropped a couple of passes. Nico Collins, in this system, whatever it is, this has been, I don't want to call it regression, but he does not look like one of the better receivers in the NFL so far. And now he's going to miss some time because he has a concussion, which, let's be honest, no disrespect, that's part of the difference between Nico Collins and JSN. I think JSN's better anyways, but JSN has never missed a game in his entire career. Nico Collins has missed multiple games every year of his career. But yeah, that was a massive drop by Nico Collins and actually a hell of a play by CJ Stroud.
I mean, if you turn the TV off when Nico Collins dropped the football, I wouldn't have blamed you.
Well, you probably would have missed a lot because we still got a lot of moments. So then we have a situation where Seattle gets the ball. I titled this a must hold. The Texans get the hold. After a JSN 15-yard gain, the Texans end up getting a hold and they get the ball back. And then you have another goal line break where CJ Stroud should have already ran into a safety. This time he gets pressured, throws the ball backwards, and Woody Marks, hell of a hustle play by Woody Marks. He forces the fumble, and Braxton Berrios falls on it, and the Texans get away with yet another blunder that probably would have ended the game. And there's a little sign of life. And at this point, I'm sitting there saying, if they're down 14-0 at half, they should be absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, but here's the most Texans thing about this play. Because what should have happened is you get a fresh set of downs at the 20. But they had an illegal shift on the play. So instead of getting a fresh set of downs because your rookie running back went and made a hustle play and forced the Seahawks to fumble the football, and you get a fresh set of downs at the 20 via touchback, no, because you had an illegal shift because the offense is bullshit. You had an illegal shift. You get the ball 2nd and 15.
All right. So then Seattle, they do the Texans a massive favor. And this was little Kubiak. Maybe he felt sorry for DeMeco, but they decide they're going to run a reverse pass with Cooper Kupp while it was inevitable that they were going to have at least a 3-possession lead, but Cooper Kupp throws the interception. Kalen Bullock gets his first of the season, and I'll be damned, the Texans might actually be down just 14-0 at a half. That's all I'm saying. Anything better than 14-0, they should have a champagne celebration. They could take that champagne from Seattle next door and maybe use that champagne at halftime if they were down 14-0. But I'll be damned. Kubiak gets cute. Cooper Kupp makes a bad throw, and Kalen Bullock gives them absolute life at this point.
It's a total dumbassery by the Seahawks there. They should have marched down. I mean, they had not nearly enough issues with the Texans defense to go out there and try some trickery BS like that. That was totally dumb by them. Also, I want to note, of course, Mario Edwards had a 15-yard penalty to start this drive after they crushed Kenneth Walker for a 4-yard loss. Of course, they had a face mask.
Yeah, they did all that. So then this is the best stretch for the Texans, perhaps, of the game. And even then, you can kind of see some of the little Giants type of tendencies. So right off the top, a 3rd and 1, Nico Collins moves the chains. Imagine that. You throw it to your best player, short yardage. You move the chains. Then Ursery recovers a fumble, but there's a defensive holding. Woody Marks for 13, then Dalton Schultz for 22, then Nico Collins draws a pass interference, and then this is where it gets a little bit silly. So CJ Stroud looks like he has a massive opportunity to run. For whatever reason, he doesn't want to. And he decides, maybe he thinks he'll trip and fall. He decides, and I don't even think this was a bad play by CJ Stroud. He decides, well, Nick Chubb's running and looking right at me, so I'll throw it to the guy who has been, at one point in his career, one of the best running backs in the NFL, who they insist on playing. I'll throw it to him sideways. Was it a perfect throw? No. Do I expect a perfect throw in that situation? No. But what does Nick Chubb do? Nick Chubb just reaches out one hand, doesn't reach out with two hands. Even a lot of running backs catch. Woody Marks catches that ball. Like, I think we can agree. Woody Marks catches that ball, maybe one-handed, and Nick Chubb drops the ball. It falls to the ground. Okay, no harm, no foul. Probably could have picked up at least 5-10 yards with CJ Stroud. Who knows what Nick Chubb could have done had he caught the ball. But then on the very next play, CJ Stroud trips and falls because I guess Andrew steps on his foot.
Yep.
So then that's your second down play. And then on third down, you get a moderate gain to Dalton Schultz, but you come away with 3 points, and it is 14-3 in a game in which you should probably be down 30-0. Like, if we're being honest, you should probably be down at least 21, maybe, yeah, probably 30-0 if Seattle doesn't get cute and you don't get those breaks at your own goal line. So 14-3, I think most people would have signed up for at that point.
Oh, I was praying they would get to the halftime at just 14-3. Like, it was, if it's like, oh man, 14-3, they get it out of half, they can make it 14-6. You know, defense continues to play amazing. Maybe they can make it 14-9. Defense keeps playing well. Maybe they'll make it 14-12. Then eventually they could field goal them to death because the offense surely as hell is not going to score a touchdown. But incredible to just be down 14-3 with, about 2 minutes left in this thing.
Yes. So then you go to Seattle. Now, Seattle kind of took their foot off the gas. I don't know what was going on here, but they didn't seem like they were in a hurry to score. I don't know if this was the latest example of just not respecting the Texans offense, but you had JSN move the chains. Then you had Sam Darnold on 3rd and 4. He throws the ball away. It should be mentioned that DeMeco Autry with the pressure. So DeMeco Autry forces Sam Darnold on 3rd down to throw the ball away. And then on 4th down, he blocks the field goal. So the Texans are still down 14-3, and they have a little opportunity to perhaps come away with a score. So what do? They take the guy that they've taken off the field for Braxton Berrios, plays less percentage of snaps than Braxton Berrios, and he doesn't return punts anymore. And they throw the ball to Jalen Knoll, who makes the play of the game, and he catches the ball 20-plus yards, 27, 28 yards, and the Texans end up kicking a field goal and cut it to 14-6, which means they are down 1 possession in a game in which they should be down 4 possessions.
Yeah. I mean, that was an incredible play. It's almost like that guy should play a whole lot more, but he hasn't been in the NFL with an unproductive football career up to this point. So, he can't get the run. I shouldn't say that. He was an all-pro in 2021, which is nearly a decade ago in football years, but
yeah.
It'd be just great job by DeMeco Autry to immediately be an impact player when last year was a huge disappointment for him. He provided nothing to what they expected him to provide. And in a half of football, he immediately was good. And then he was good in the second half too.
Yeah, no doubt. So we go to halftime and you're down 14-6. Now here's the question. The question is, how is Nick Caley going to come out to start the second half? Well, CJ Stroud throws an interception right off the top. CJ Stroud with an interception right off the top. I don't know what was happening with Nico Collins, but Nico Collins goes across the middle and CJ Stroud throws the interception.
It throws the interception because he makes a horrible decision with the football because he's got a panic because he gets an unblocked rusher right in his face.
Yep. Then the Texans hold them to 3. You had a 3rd and 6 incomplete. So they're down 17-6. Not the worst thing in the world. And then on the Texans' next drive, the new secret weapon from the Texans, the new secret weapon, Dare Ogunbowale, returning to the lineup. They throw to him on 3rd and 6. Perhaps they would have gone near midfield, but he drops the ball. It falls to the turf, and then the Texans elect to punt.
That was such a microcosm of the BS that this offense has put on the field. 3rd down, throw it short of the sticks to Dare Ogunbowale. Of course, he drops the football. Punt.
So then the Texans actually get the ball.
It's a war crime. It's an offensive war crime to put him on the field.
It's a war crime.
It's against the Geneva Convention to play that guy when you've got a guy that clearly can catch the football better. Pass blocks better.
At this point, they just gotta protect themselves from themselves, and they just got it. They can't do this. Like I'm convinced that if DeMeco Ryans, Nick Caserio, and Nick Caley were coaching at Notre Dame in the 70s and 80s, that Rudy probably would have started. Like I just don't. It's just so pathetic how much they romanticize players that don't need to be romanticized. Like I think he probably starts, and quite frankly, they might have played him both ways. It's a weird thing. So then we go to what could have been the biggest play of the year. Will Anderson. I mean, at this point, you're looking at guys that could have been the number 12 pick that you traded for Will Anderson, and you've seen Jahmyr Gibbs go crazy. You've seen Jackson Smith and Jigba go crazy, and you traded a haul for Will Anderson, and then I'll be damned, he makes a play, and he gives the Texans their first touchdown, and he makes it 17-12. I don't expect them to get the 2-point conversion, but 17-12 is where they go.
They should have kicked it, by the way, because you have the ability to tie with in 2 possessions with a kick and a touchdown and a 2-point if you get it, if you have the extra point. So you should have kicked it. You shouldn't have gone for 2, but sound game operation, not exactly their strong point.
Yeah, not the greatest thing. So then you have that. Then Seattle ends up kicking a field goal to extend it back to 8. You had Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. They actually started out this series on the sidelines for some reason. I don't know what that was about. Now there was a deflected pass, in fairness, from the backups, but for whatever reason, they decided that, hey, you know what? We're going to put Anderson and Hunter on the sidelines after we have all this momentum. And by the way, did Hunter play? Actually, I say Hunter was on the sidelines. Did he play yesterday?
They've got Danielle Hunter has the best. Like you ever see in the news when like those CEOs get paid even though the company's getting bankrupt? Like Danielle Hunter negotiating 50% playtime and 100% raise. Great job. by his agent, because I have never seen star pass rushers get more time off than Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson in this defense. Like you're sitting there and you need a play coming out of a break, coming out of a possession where the Seahawks take over,
commercial, man. Like this is,
you've got freaking Dylan Horton and Derek Barnett out there.
It's after a commercial. It's all the momentum in the world. Like, and you look at Will Anderson on the sidelines, like he's foaming out the mouth to get back out there. And for whatever reason, they're on the sidelines. And I know these are small things, and this might be nitpicking the defense, but I mean, the guy just had a strip sack. He's probably in a rhythm. He's probably feeling himself. I think a lot of times D-line getting rhythms like jump shooters and pitchers and all that type of stuff. And then those guys are on the sidelines. And what happens? Jackson Smith and Jigba gets into field goal range. He kind of gets the best of Kamari Lassiter. Then you have a batted pass, then Walker for 7, and then Anderson and Hunter come back in, and you just completely blow them the fuck up on 3rd and 2. Like, who's to say you couldn't have done that had you put your freaking $30 million edge guy and the guy that you traded half a draft for on the field? For whatever reason, they needed a breather, and it results in 3 more points for Seattle. And it ended up being 3 pretty valuable points. So I don't understand what the line of thinking was there, but I don't know that I want to know what the line of thinking is for this Texans coaching staff. It is Reaction Tuesday. We appreciate everyone for rolling through. Be sure to like the video, subscribe, shout out to TDECU, the greatness that is TDECU.org/Texans. You can get your Texans debit card, that lovely looking Texans debit card, 15% off at the team shop, membership required, insured by NCUA. So then we go there, still a 1-possession game. Cody, anything you want to add before we go on to this lovely finish in Seattle?
I mean, you mentioned it. You get in there, you get that stop, you force a field goal, and it goes to what it. And then the ensuing drive was pathetic by the offense. Just, I mean, pathetic. I mean, it was, you know, I mean, the back-to-back rushes on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 is the least feel that I've ever seen an offensive coordinator have for who his team is, who his opponent is, and what the situation calls for.
Then you go, then you get to a situation where, first of all, they're down 1 possession. I don't even know that they really needed to go on 4th at this point. But they decided to, and they decided to run the same play twice.
Yeah. You just pinned them deep and had Will Anderson make an amazing play. Why didn't you pin them deep again? Why did you go?
Yeah, I don't know what the situation was. It's a 1-possession game. You're still kind of in it, and they decide to not once but twice. They're going to run behind the guard that they benched the last 2 weeks. And I don't know if this was like some homecoming. I know that they traded Cam Robinson because he wanted to play more. Maybe they told Laken Tomlinson, "Hey, we'll let you play more. Don't worry. We want you here. We'll let you play more." I don't know what the explanation is, but he's in there. He plays a larger majority of the snap than Juice Scruggs, and they run behind him. And Dan Orlovsky's absolutely losing his mind. And then Jackson Smith and Jigba gets the pass interference on Kamari Lassiter. That leads to another touchdown, and Seattle's up 27-12. And it just feels like a massive missed opportunity to where you probably should have punted. You probably should have had Anderson and Hunter out there on the drive after. And that's where they're at, 27-12.
Yeah. And then the again, ensuing drive after that, CJ Stroud went out there and acted like they were down 40 points and just boop, 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 punt. Like,
yeah, this is where he gets sacked in the final drive heading into the 4th quarter. The Texans actually, the first drive of the 4th, Seattle's 11th, they actually force a punt. And then Texans offense, just as you just mentioned, CJ Stroud, the ball to Nico Collins on the sideline where he gets hurt. Then Jaden Higgins with a perfect route, and CJ Stroud throws an uncatchable ball. And then Xavier Hutchinson, hey, one Iowa State guy gets an uncatchable ball. You get an uncatchable ball too. And then the Texans end up punting to Seattle. But then somehow there's more life provided by the defense because Walker gets to midfield and then the Texans force a fumble. MJ Stewart, who wasn't too bad in this game, MJ Stewart forces the fumble and he gives the Texans a puncher's chance at midfield in a 2-possession ball game.
I mean, great job by MJ Stewart. It just the hope was fleeting at that point because the offense couldn't do much.
Then we go to the 12th, and this is where the Texans, they get to the 4th down and 15. They decide that to go for it, which is fine. You have Dan Orlovsky on his knees begging for up tempo. Like he's completely begging for up tempo. That's a lot to ask. You have a 15-yard penalty called on the Texans. It should have been offsetting because CJ Stroud got roughed up too. So it probably killed the drive. But the Texans end up no harm, no foul, because Derek Stingley on the next series, he gets an interception. And it's like, my God, how much life can this defense provide this team? Well, then you got the offense. So I'll be honest, I wanted to see Davis Mills at this point. CJ Stroud was kind of roughed up. I just wanted to see what it looked like with Davis Mills. But CJ Stroud stays in, and for the first time, he leads the offense down the field. You had Dalton Schultz moving the chains. Hutchinson moves the chains. Then on 4th and 5, Jalen Knoll again inside the 5-yard line. And then they get to the goal line. And my God, what on earth were the Texans doing there? They decide that they want to get to the 1-yard line and then they want to throw the ball multiple times. The QB sneak, I guess, is just like optional. Like, if there's a defensive lineman with a pulse, then the QB sneak isn't a thing. I'm very confused by it because I would have run 3 QB sneaks at the 1-yard line. You know me. And I thought it was part of it. We've seen them run it on 3rd and 2, 4th and 2, whatever it is. We see them run it sometimes. And then other times they just decide, no, we're not going to do it. Like, it's not a different offensive line. They say, well, we're not going to, you're not going to win up front. They've run the QB sneak at a decent level this year.
And I understand like they don't run the football well, and they've already seen their rushing attack just get absolutely manhandled by the Seahawks. But you've got to get 1 yard and you've run the QB sneak. That's been one of your only run plays that consistently works. And they're allergic to it. Allergic to it.
And then Seattle, for some reason, is throwing. They end up.
Hold on. You missed. Hold on. You missed some primo Texans stuff. They bring Blake Fisher in as the extra offensive lineman on 4th and 1 from the 1. And what does Blake Fisher do? False start. Offense 57. You got one job. Go in there, block the guy in front of you. Don't start early. I'll start 57. So then they throw it, and CJ throws a wholly uncatchable ball. And Jaden Higgins even goes like this after. He goes, like, how am I supposed to catch that?
There's so many uncatchable balls from CJ, but they end up getting stuck. And then we go to Braxton Berrios. Braxton Berrios gets ran down by Leonard Williams. They decide to get Braxton Berrios involved. And then they get inside the 5-yard line. And this is where it gets real confusing because at this point you have 2:50 left. And they decide with 2:50 left, a timeout and the 2-point conversion, they're going to run a stretch play. So a long developing run when you're scared to run the ball, even across the middle, like not even a British Brooks carry, not a Nick Chubb carry, not a QB sneak. You're scared to run the ball on the previous failed inside the 5 stint. So you decide to run a stretch play. Not only do you run the stretch play, after that, 45 seconds go off the clock. 40 seconds go off the clock. So now you're up against it. You end up scoring with 2:04 remaining. So you took 40 seconds off the clock. That is like insane. Like if you score with like 2:30 and you have a timeout and the 2-minute warning, I mean, I don't want to say you're in good shape, but you're looking at perhaps 3rd down on the back end of the 2-minute warning and getting the ball with 90 seconds left. They decide to run a stretch play and kill 40 seconds. Then they score. Woody Mark scores. And then they decide, and I want to wrap this up, Cody, because I just want to, I'm not the show. I just want to get through these moments because it's so pitiful. Then they decide that they're not going to kick the ball out of bounds, and the game is over because you've basically eliminated 2 clock stoppages and turned it into 1. Oh, yeah. And then, by the way, Tim Settle decides to jump on a pile when you have like not even a puncher's chance, like a flick chance.
Yeah, they did a horrible job maximizing their window to try to tie that football game. But from the run play that burned too much time to CJ Stroud having to extend a play for an extra 10 seconds because nobody can get open in the red zone because the scheme and the offense is awful, to the kicker being instructed to kick the ball out of bounds, and then he doesn't kick the ball out of bounds.
Yeah. Yep. Not great.
And guess what? Guess what? It's either Wednesday or Thursday or Friday. I got to talk to Kaimi Fairbairn because I have to get confirmation that he was told to kick it out of bounds, because the coach said that, but now I need Kaimi to confirm it. And then I also want to know, can he kick it out of the back of the end zone? Like, is that something he is capable of doing? So now I got to interview the kicker this week because they can't figure out how to operate like an efficiently run football team.
Yeah, you can even just kick it out of bounds. Like, it's not that difficult. Like, what are you aiming for? Even an onside kick at that point. I mean, and I know that's a lot to ask, but it doesn't make any sense. DeMeco Ryans is very willing to call out the kicker. That's what's funny to me.
An onside kick would have made sense because at least you have a modicum of a chance to get the football, and the play typically doesn't take that long. But like, it'd have made more sense than what they ended up doing.
But the stretch play and killing 45 seconds is just insane.
The offensive coordinator has no feel for the football game.
Well, and the quarterback's not in any hurry.
Well, yeah, because they've got this. They've got this. Landry, haven't you seen how impressive this offense is, and it has been over the course of the past 2 decades of the NFL, with the long play calls and all this kind of stuff? And you got to get in there and get to the quarterback and let him know, and then he's got to get in there and call it. And it's this long, complicated, super awesome offense. It takes time to get up there to the line of scrimmage and then just play backyard football to figure it out because the play call sucked.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Tate Rodriguez says, I hope Caley watches the TV copy of the game with the sound on. They need to hear the disgust from the announcers. I would hire Orlovsky over. I don't want to hire Orlovsky, but I do think he did a good job of calling out and exposing Nick Caley like we've never seen before. Mushroom713 says his square playbook can go up his round. Okay. Wag says, even the announcer said it. Our offense lacked creativity. The announcer said Houston needed to stick with play action. That was working kind of. Yeah, they didn't stop that Schultz play one time.
Yeah, I mean, it just, again, it's funny. The quarterback goes to the podium and says, we should stop doing stuff that we're not good at. We should do more of the stuff that we are good at. And then in the middle of the game, they stop doing it and start doing stuff they aren't good at.
Texans film guy, would y'all agree this offense is CJ saves all butts? Reference to my Deshaun saves all butts thing. Defense played great. QB played perfect. That's how they operate to me. No, I don't. I don't think CJ is capable of saving all butts. I think there was a stretch early on where he was. I don't think CJ is. It's not ideal situation, but I think CJ throws some unthrowable balls, runs into bad plays. I don't.
But I think that's what he's saying is they put too much on CJ Stroud. They don't help him. Like they expect too much out of the guy, and he's not capable of delivering what they expect. I think that's what he's getting at. Yeah,
well, maybe you are right. Maybe I'm just disagreeing on the wrong thing. Wag says CJ needs blocking and play to his strengths. I think they need to adjust with what the offensive line is. It's funny. I gave you a hard time. I got you fired up because I said it's hilarious that you're saying that they got to beat the guy in front of them, because that's not no guy with a functional brain would create a game plan like that. But I'll be damned. That's pretty much how they function. Main 94 says, is Dan Orlovsky available to be our next OC? I would doubt it. Rob Malite 7509. If I see one more screen on 3rd and long, talking about the give up plays. Cam Jam, I didn't even watch the game, man. I knew we were going to get embarrassed. Y'all are my morning talk show, though. LMAO, love y'all. We love you too, my friend. And we're all in this together no matter what. We're all in this no matter what. Hopefully, we've given you an idea of what it was like. And it wasn't pretty. It's baffling that Dari is even a team captain. I don't see leadership. I see incompetence. Worst offense I've ever seen. They like to over romanticize things that shouldn't matter. And they have a clear veteran bias on this team, which, I mean, anyone with eyes can see that it's there. And the Braxton Berrios thing, that's absolutely embarrassing.
Here's one of the biggest problems with this team and with this offense. And I was in the prisoner of the moment while they're sitting there crapping their pants on offense. And I was like, well, this is the worst offense in football. And it's quickly brought to my attention that there are far worse offenses in football. And yeah, there are. The Tennessee Titans are really bad at offense. The Jets are unwatchable in offense. The Raiders are pathetic. The Dolphins aren't any good. None of those offenses had expectations. This offense had expectations. If you watched the Jets and thought the Jets were going to be good, that's your fault. Like, this offense had expectations. They were supposed to be better. They made wholesale changes in the offseason to make things better. And it's not only is it bad, it's worse than last year.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Team player says, Schultz keeps showing up. Yeah, he did his thing. It's contract year Schultz. Archer Wad 1. We are living in an era where struggling QBs get fixed. Darnold, Mayfield, and Jones. I guess, is that a CJ Stroud thing or what?
They ain't got the guys that could fix him on the staff if he's broken.
McDaniels and Stefanski would have called better plays on offense yesterday, and both are on the verge of getting fired. McDaniel, I think he means. Yeah, I would agree with that. AJ Hinojosa says DeMeco is a DC. Reset the whole staff and GM. So he
wants a clean house.
And then he says, 2 weeks ago, I said that about Stroud on 15-yard sacks, running backwards. Kind of crazy.
He leads the NFL in sack yardage by a quarterback, despite not being close to the top in total sacks.
Kevin Say says, Casario thrift shopping offense, especially at RB, did this last year too. Will land us here as long as he's the GM. Thanks, fellas. Here we are in October. We're in this together. We got a lot of season to cover. Now, which direction does that go? Maybe we can get into that tomorrow, but we got a lot of season left. Chase.
So, hold on. I want to address the thrift shopping real quick, because not only are they playing bad football, but these offensive linemen are hopeless. Like there's not you can't reference a previous top end where they have been a really good football player. Like if you went and spent $80 million on a guard, like there'd be a previous top end of good football that you'd be like, oh, well, that guy can achieve that. Like I know, NFL people have watched him achieve things at offensive line. Okay. Like people have watched him play good football. Nobody's watched Laken Tomlinson play good football in the past 3 years. Nobody's watched Ed Ingram play good football in the past 3 years. Jake Andrews has played 7 NFL games. Nobody's watched Titus Howard play good football in the past few years. Ariante Arosari is a rookie. Like, there's not any hope. Like, at least if some of these guys had big contracts and they were playing poorly, there'd be hope because, like, oh, that guy previously has played good football. These guys haven't previously played good football in the past few years.
Chase says incompetence and arrogance top to bottom. Though we trust our process talk is becoming loser talk. DeMeco, O'Brien, Saleh should be on the hot seat. I think that's an insult to Robert Saleh. I don't think Robert Saleh ever had on offense what DeMeco Ryans has. I really don't. I actually hope Robert Saleh gets another chance. I think he gets another opportunity. I think he's a professional. I know that the Jets were rough, but he was handed Zach Wilson and he was handed Aaron Rodgers, and basically Aaron Rodgers was handed the keys to the franchise, and it was basically a wrap there. I think it's an insult to put Saleh in that, because I don't think Saleh ever had close to what DeMeco Ryans has personnel-wise, asset-wise, all of that. So I actually think that's an insult to Robert Saleh. Buddy Jackson says, I hope you boys have some tough all caps questions for DeMeco about the incomprehensible personnel decisions in this game. Dude, we always ask what needs to be asked.
Why did Buddy get the funny voice? What did Buddy do?
I'm just emphasizing tough. It's always funny because I think I've proven myself as someone who's going to ask the questions. Like it's been proven. Like I got y'all's back, and maybe that's all he's saying. But yeah, there's going to be no softballs on this, no romanticism. I mean, I want to know about the personnel decisions. I want to know about the guard rotations. I'm saving myself for Nick Caley because DeMeco Ryans doesn't respect the fans. He doesn't respect the media. DeMeco Ryans is going to go up there, act like he has all the answers. He's going to use buzzwords. He's going to have a sprinkle of Nick Caserio paranoia. And quite frankly, a lot of times whenever DeMeco Ryans talks, it's quite frankly just a waste of time. I'm just being honest with you. So that's just kind of where that is with DeMeco Ryans. I think Nick Caley gets asked. DeMeco will get asked about the personnel. He'll get asked about the clock management, and we will ask him. But I think DeMeco Ryans pressers, to be quite frank, I think they're the worst I've ever seen.
I appreciate Buddy's belief that we're the people that need to ask the tough questions. He trusts us to ask the tough questions.
You think? I don't know, man. What about Aaron?
Hey, bro. Alpha Aaron here.
Oh, well, he's
going to tag an agent.
How important was it that Will Anderson made that play and scored a touchdown at clutch, whatever, sports agent?
How about that interception by Derek Stingley at Dave Mulgeta?
Who's MJ Stewart's agent? They're about to get a shout out. Hey, how important was it MJ Stewart forced that fumble at MJ Stewart's agent?
B-Bag says, I know you have experience in the press corps. Why does Houston media? Oh, God, we're going questions now. Why does Houston media ask such softball questions? I know you can't go off on the coaches and players. Why don't they ask questions about the total ineptitude of the offense? Now, don't let me in. I do what I got to do. I do what I have to do. And I wouldn't lump Cody in either. So I don't know. I can't speak for everyone else. And I don't know who you're referring to. And I don't want to generalize all of the people that I see on a daily basis. So I can't really speak for everyone. I can just speak for me. I'll ask what needs to be asked. I will say a lot of times, if you watch a media session, a lot of times it's kind of a team effort too. And I think that there is kind of a balance where, like, even in Tennessee, in New York, like anywhere, it's crazy I'm saying Tennessee, but like one person asks a tough question, the other person asks a tough question, or one person asks a tough question, and then they get to ask 3 straight tough questions, the questions that fans actually want to know about. In this instance, sometimes a tough question gets asked, and then all of a sudden there's a softball, and then there's another softball, and then all of a sudden, like, the rhythm gets off, and it kind of kills the flow. So I don't know. In a perfect world, it's cohesive. I can't speak for everyone, though.
Yeah, I don't worry about what other people do for their job. It's not my job to make them ask good questions, or I do everything I can to ask the questions that I need to ask. If I can't ask it, I try to get Landry to ask it. If he can't ask it, I try to get somebody else to ask it. But I mean, it's not my job to make everybody else do their job.
Yeah,
and cover this team the way it should be covered. That's why I have Houston football. That's why we have S&L. That's why we have the locker room, because we cover the team the way we think it should be covered. Not everybody takes the pride in their work like that.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, but I mean, we will never not do it. But it is that there is kind of a line to it. There is a line in the sand. And I also just think DeMeco Ryans has no respect for fans or media. Like, I don't think he does. I don't think he respects the process. I don't think he understands it. And that kind of makes it a little bit different. Sean Elvis says, hey, at least Austin Brinkman looks amazing.
That might be the first time we've talked about Austin Brinkman on this channel since he got hurt.
TF Texan says, I'm sorry, Bobby. The offense was better with you. Wow.
Hand up. I was wrong. I thought it couldn't get any worse.
Damn it, Bobby.
It somehow got worse.
Damn it, Bobby.
Pour one out for Bobby Slowick. D Skills H-Town says there is no sense of urgency anywhere in this organization. I would not disagree. And there was a strong sense of arrogance as well, that I think is kind of coming down.
Oh, you mean like if I'm not worried about the offensive line, you shouldn't be worried about the offensive line. Remember that one?
I always think it's funny too when DeMeco will be like, oh, if it works, then you're not second guessing. Dude, that's not how it works. People aren't simps. Like, people knew immediately you should kick the ball out of bounds. People knew immediately you shouldn't run the stretch play. People knew immediately you probably should have accepted the penalty on the back end. Like, it's not that simplistic. Based on that, you go for it on 4th and 50. And if it works, you say it's a good decision. I think he, again, doesn't respect media and fans. So I think it kind of goes back to that.
And it goes against everything that they talk about.
He doesn't respect media who doesn't just kiss his ass.
It goes against everything because they talk so much about their process and how their process doesn't change and the results don't change their process. But when the results are good, the process is automatically good.
Shout out to Doyle, who was out at the game. He says he's heading to the airport. He said Seattle fans were really cool. Doyle, we appreciate you for riding along with us, and safe travels, my friend. Way to represent. I know that you can get back to that minus 30 cold weather that you're used to. I'm sure that 50 degrees was like a breeze for him. I think he's wearing I think he went to the game shirtless with like a swimsuit on.
And yeah, we saw the super chat about the cussing. If they didn't make you cuss last night, then you don't care.
MacDad84 says, I think Casserole, is that what he's calling Casario, was going to tank this season to clear up cap space and get a higher draft pick. He damn sure ain't clearing up cap space. Yeah, this offense is straight dumpster juice. I'm tired of the Patriot way and bargain bin shopping for washed up players. Patriot way was something that they said at Casario's press conference. They were not Patriot South, but they sure as hell look it.
Yeah, I mean the Patriots time and time again skimped out on investment in various spots of the team and various spots of the organization. The Patriots time and time again had trouble drafting wide receivers, although it looks like Jalen Noel seems to be pretty good. And if Jaden Higgins could get a ball thrown to him that's a catchable football, maybe we'd see that he's pretty good too. But I mean, they tried to gimmick together this offense. Look. The general manager was the GM in New England. The offensive coordinator was the tight end coach. And the offensive line coach was the assistant offensive line coach when their offensive line was a 7th rounder, a 6th rounder, an undrafted free agent, a 4th rounder, and I think a 5th rounder. And they won the Super Bowl. So they think you don't have to invest in it. You can just find them. That's how they think. And they tried to just find them. And you know what? They came up empty.
They came up empty just a little bit. Nathan Palmer 515. I'd rather have Jawar Jordan out there than Dare, and he's on the practice squad. Yeah, you and me both. He's better. He's
bring
better.
back JJ Taylor. What's Alfred Blue doing these days?
Doyle on the way to the airport.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Back-to-back division champs followed by a losing season. It's like a tradition now. Bring on Graham Mertz. Oh my gosh. Nick Jones says on to the Utah Mammoth.
Did you know that was the new hockey team?
Did not.
Yeah, that's the new hockey team in the NHL.
Did not. Dominic P. Dom in Jersey says, not to be dramatic. Sure. I woke up this feeling terminally ill. I hate this team. Realistic question. When do we start to realize Nico is not an alpha number 1 wide receiver? He hasn't been good this year. He hasn't looked like a number 1 guy. He's fumbled. He's dropped a big play, and now he's hurt. So I don't know. I mean, they kind of got him at some would say a bargain, but yeah, I really don't know.
Yeah, the consistency was an issue with Nico Collins because it was either injury or, we hadn't seen him have consistently like production issues since he got good. Like he wasn't dropping footballs and fumbling the football a couple of years ago before his contract extension, but now that's popped up in addition to, oh, by the way, he's about to miss time because he gets hurt and guys get hurt.
Yippers.
Or he's a guy that gets hurt. Excuse me.
Nick G663 says, Nick Caley got to go. You can't fix stupid. When it comes to play calling like this, regardless of adjustments, personnel also made no sense. The personnel was the worst part of it. I think this guy is just he's scared. He's scared. Like he's scared on the big stage. Like twice we've seen him on the big stage and he pissed his pants. We saw it against Tampa Bay when you get down to the 1 yard line. You completely abandon the run. You decide you're not going to run a QB sneak. But then when you're facing teams in noon slates that suck, you're deciding that the QB sneak is a thing and you're going to play fearless. You're going to try to run it up on Baltimore. Like you're going to play fearless football against Baltimore. And then against Seattle, you're going to play scared. And I'm not sitting here saying that they would have lined up and fearlessness would have resulted in a win. But this was just a pathetic display overall by the Texans, and it was embarrassing.
He's in over his head. He's totally incapable of handling the duties of the position.
B Bank says, are y'all able to address my earlier super chat? Can you just reset what it was? I don't did we skip over it? Did we miss it?
He asked about the softball questions.
Oh yeah, I thought we already talked about it, right?
Yeah, we did. We
Yeah.
did. It was in the backlog, and I guess he thought we missed it or we skipped it. If you guys super chat, we're gonna read it.
Yeah.
It's if you take the time to spend your money with us, we're gonna read your super chat. It may take us a minute to get there, but we're gonna read it.
Yeah, we'll read it. Nathan Palmer 515. We could take the best guard in college, and offense would still have trouble moving the ball. I would agree. I will not accept Nick Caserio drafting an offensive lineman anymore. Too many misses. Ursary, you want him fired?
He can't draft the offensive line. If they want to fix the offensive line, it needs to be proven free agents. Ursary looks lost out there, man. He looks totally incapable of handling the duties of a left tackle. You got Dan Orlovsky begging to help him. You know what happened when they helped him one time? Schultz blocked his guy. He let a guy run unblocked and nearly kill CJ Stroud. He looks lost out there at left tackle.
I just don't really understand I don't understand a lot of things they do, but the one thing that I've kind of harped on that I don't think has gotten much attention is like at this point, would it have been crazy if Cam Robinson had come in for Ursary if he were on the team?
Well, it's another personnel decision. Trent Brown's not even active. They don't even have an option at left tackle. The guy's playing so bad he needs to get benched. They don't even have somebody they can put in because they traded his backup in Cam Robinson, which is what you're talking about, and then his other backup is inactive.
Yeah, I don't understand. Nathan Palmer 515 says we could. Yeah, we already said that the Penn State. Rich Boy J says DeMeco's personnel decisions are his own personal business, guys. He isn't worried about the team, so why should we be?
I harken back to the Joe Mixon thing.
Oh God. Jake Ramirez says Prime Deshaun would have won this game. Prime Deshaun's at least 4-2, maybe 5-1. Maybe they might be undefeated with Prime Deshaun. They might be undefeated. 2017
Deshaun wins this. 2018 Deshaun wins this. 2019 Deshaun wins this. Ryan Fitzpatrick in 2014 wins this.
2020 Deshaun wins this by big
2020 Deshaun wins it. Remember, the Walmart worker teammates that he said. I would think, I'm not going to go as far as to say 2015 Hoyer wins this. That's probably not the case. But yeah, there's a multitude of quarterbacks that have played in recent years that would have won this football game.
Yeah, there's even the difference between, there's a lot of difference. There's a lot of things that we can talk about. But,
you know who would have won yesterday? Spencer Rattler.
Ooh, I don't know. The difference between CJ Stroud throwing catchable balls and not throwing catchable balls is big. There was the one with Jaden Higgins on the sideline. There was the one with Noel deep. There was the one with Hutchinson deep. There were a couple in the end zone. The difference in how a game looks when you throw catchable balls in those situations is probably relatively significant. And that's something else that I think perhaps should be mentioned.
It's an offense that so much of it's bad and it just folds in on itself, and they don't have the ability to triage a crappy portion of the offense. They just let the disease of suck spread throughout everything. Quarterback can't make the throws. Offensive line can't block. Offensive coordinator's incompetent. They use awful personnel. They can't just have one mistake and one big issue. It's got to spread like a virus of awfulness throughout the entirety of the offense.
MHW Nation says, and I thought Sims was bad. Berrios is worse.
Shouldn't have been on the field. Just shouldn't have been on the field.
Touch of Trent is 5-5 still the goal. Yeah, 5-5 is what you got to do in the 11 if you want just like a puncher's chance. So they got to go 3-1 in the next 4. Got a banged up San Francisco team coming to town, then Denver, then Jacksonville, and then they got to go to Tennessee. Jared M says, Cody, here's the $5 I promised for the questions. Thank God that game was on so late, so my friends and family didn't have to see that bleep.
And Jared was asking last week, can we trade for Pat Fryermuth? And then Pat Fryermuth had like an amazing Thursday night. And I was like, I don't think they want to trade him now. Again, I'd put everything about a trade conversation on hold because you're not that far away from potentially being a seller. So let's hold off on the. Oh yeah,
Who are you selling?
oh yeah. Well, there's some defenders that you could sell off this team that somebody'd be interested in. Yeah, I mean, today's not the day to talk about it, but you know, if you lose a couple football games, Danielle Hunter has a 2-sack performance. I'd see if somebody wants him. You could get a nice draft pick that you can then just sit on and not move up for a competent offensive lineman. You can just sit and wait for every competent offensive. You saw how good Gray Zabel looked last night? Man, be nice to have him, but nah, you got to sit, wait, hold. Don't make any trades. Don't move up. Everything's too expensive. You know what their options ended up being on the offensive line? You know what their options ended up being? The head case with an exploded knee in Kansas City, who hadn't played for the Chiefs in 2 weeks, and nobody knows where he is. Josh Connerly, who's awful in Washington. They're only playing him because they have to. Ursery, who looks lost at left tackle. Like that ended up being their options because Caserio couldn't move off a late-round draft pick. But, hey, you trade up for a corner that, you know, nobody wanted in the 3rd round. You trade up for a running back that most people thought was going to go in the 5th. You can sacrifice value, you can leak value everywhere else, but when you need value to go and get a competent offensive lineman, you can't do that.
I mean, and when they're investing, it's not going well either. We don't have to go in circles here, but when they're investing, it doesn't go well either.
Correct.
So, yeah. All right, let's shout out Texans Turf, the greatness that is Texans Turf. I'm a customer. I was before they became a partner, and they did my yard. They can do yours. I shopped around before. It was very frustrating at times, but I finally was brought to Texans Turf. They don't try to upsell you. They don't have these BS extreme minimums, and they customize it to your backyard for everything from drainage, etc. Always green, always clean. Shout out to the greatness that is Texans Turf. Whether you're looking for a putting green or a play area, let Dan the man do his thing. And in the spirit of the greatness that is Texans Turf, Cody Stoots presents. Wow, we only got 2. The Texans Turf, Kings of the Turf.
Were there more guys that deserved it?
Dalton Schultz.
Nobody on offense outside of Jalen Noel.
Dalton Schultz.
He got where credit is due for the 2nd time. So that's the best Dalton's going to get out of this one. Will Anderson, absent for a good portion of the game and then goes out there and scores a touchdown. I know that's a novel concept. The offense should take note on scoring a touchdown. Really good play, just dominated the guy in front of him and attacked Sam Darnold, forced a fumble, recovered the football. Good job by him. And then Jalen Noel, held back by an incompetent offensive coordinator, but when he gets on the field, he goes out there and makes plays. So those are your Kings of the Turf from our friends at Texans Turf. Check them out at texansturf.com. Schedule your free estimate today.
All right, let's get some Cody's context here on Reaction Tuesday. I'm looking forward to this. I got some popcorn ready for this one. Go ahead and lay out some context there, Stootsy.
All right. Mike McDonald owns CJ Stroud. Absolute domination of him. 3 games that he's called defense against CJ Stroud, and Stroud has been awful against him. Now, one of them was CJ Stroud's first start, but the playoff game in Baltimore a couple years ago, and then this one, he knows exactly what buttons to push to get to CJ Stroud. Here's a list of teams that scored multiple offensive touchdowns this past weekend. The Steelers, the Bengals, the Rams, the Saints, the Bears, the Browns, the Patriots, the Chiefs, the Vikings, the Giants, the Broncos, the Colts, the Chargers, the Commies, the Cowboys, the Packers, the Cardinals, the 49ers, and the Detroit Lions. Okay? Those are the amount of teams that scored multiple offensive touchdowns. The Texans failed to do that this week. 2023 versus Jacksonville was the last time that the Houston Texans had a running back as their lead rusher rush for less than 20 yards. Their leading running back rusher last night was Nick Chubb. He rushed for 16 yards. 2022 was the last time somebody rushed for less yards as the leading rusher at running back than Chubb. That was when Dameon Pierce rushed for 8 yards against Washington. And now for the big context. Against non-awful backup-ridden defenses, the Texans have scored 4 touchdowns this year. They scored 0 against the Rams. They scored 2 against Tampa. They scored 1 against Jacksonville, and they scored 1 against the Seattle Seahawks. They have 4 touchdowns in 4 games against defenses that are not primarily playing with backups or replacement-level football players.
Yeah, it's way beyond just, oh, they need to fix the offensive line and all that. It's way beyond.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's and they can't run the football. They're predictable. But that's another thing. You shouldn't be sitting at home and say, that's a run. That's definitely going to be a run. And then sure enough, run. It's clear as day.
I feel like they're unpredictable. Like there's just multiple layers of stupidity. I don't feel the same way as you. I feel like I don't know when they're going to throw the ball 3 times. I don't know when they're going to run the ball a couple times. I actually think, if anything, they are unpredictable. I would kind of like them to be a little bit more predictable, quite honestly, because there is no method to this madness.
I'm just saying, I think there are moments where they are clearly set up and they are absolutely running the football, and it's apparent at home and it's apparent to defenses.
All right, let's assess the players. I also have a question on the back end of this. We need to take a look at this era as a whole. We'll do that. We'll also get into if this is, and I'll just get into this right now. Do you think this is just a yes or no? Is this the worst loss of the DeMeco Ryans era?
Yes.
I would agree. I think the incompetence just kind of spreads, and when you make the decision that he made and it happens, I would agree with that. So let's assess CJ Stroud. I think CJ Stroud was awful yesterday. I think if he throws catchable balls and if he decides to use his legs, I think CJ Stroud gives this team a chance to win and takes the gifts that were given to him. The most of which were running into a safety and throwing a backwards pass that should have resulted in a touchdown. CJ Stroud did not take advantage of the luck he had, and there's just too many uncatchable balls on top of the obvious problems that are around him that he cannot control. He does not control what he can control very well, and maybe we can sit there and have like some snowball effect where we say, well, it's because of the surroundings. If that's how you want to go, that's how you can go. But the bottom line is CJ Stroud, straight up F for his performance yesterday. It was bad.
Yeah, the flashes of brilliance don't overcome the consistency of poor performance from the quarterback. Stuff that he is totally in control of, the panic, the happy feet, all those things. Yeah, he might have been he might have ended up in this situation because of how the organization operated around him, but the stuff he's in control of, he's consistently bad at from time to time.
Running backs, this is embarrassing. Like Woody Marks can't get the large slice of the pie, and for whatever reason, they decided to re-implement Dare Ogunbowale into the offense. I think it was 14% of the snaps. I do not understand it. I do not get it. I do not think that they use these guys appropriately. This is an absolute F from a personnel and performance standpoint. There's one playmaker on this team, and he has no help around him in Woody Marks. You have the ghost of Nick Chubb and Dare Ogunbowale. For whatever reason, they just can't quit him.
Awful running the football. Bad decisions, bad personnel decisions, just awful.
Wide receivers. Braxton Berrios, 47% of the snaps compared to 43 at Knoll. I thought Knoll was the only wide receiver who you can say 100% played well. Quite frankly, Jaden Higgins, there was opportunities for him to make plays. CJ Stroud just can't throw him catchable footballs. But the wide receivers kind of missing in action, but we're probably going to see more Jalen Knoll now because they have no choice.
They have a choice. They can just put Xavier Hutchinson and Braxton Berrios and Jaden Higgins on the field and somehow, some way try to explain why Knoll's not on the field. I'm not putting it past him.
Next one, Dalton Schultz.
A+ for Dalton Schultz.
A+. We don't even have to say tight ends. Dalton Schultz, you carried the load. Defensive line. I don't know, man. Like my big thing last year was last week was I thought that Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson could eat at the same time. It's not allowed. They're not allowed to sit at the same table. They're like two prisoners during chow time who got in a fight, and they're not allowed to sit by each other. It is a weird situation where if Will Anderson's making plays, Danielle Hunter's not allowed to. And I look forward to seeing the advanced stats where I'm told how great Danielle Hunter played, but for whatever reason, when it comes to just flat out watching the game, they cannot eat at the same time.
First of all, you skipped over offensive line. I want to hear your thoughts. Second, I'm here to admit that I've been duped by the advanced stats. And I sat there and I was thinking about it last night, and I was like, like baseball had like this big change, and a lot of nerds run it, and it sort of sterilized the game and some of the decision making and focus on this. It doesn't matter if the guy gets a hit; he just got to get on base and launch angle and all that crap. And you've seen some of that permeate through the NFL. And I'm sitting there throughout the course of most of this game, and I'm watching Danielle Hunter not do anything. And I know Will had the big play, but prior to that, he hadn't done much. And I'm sitting there, and I felt like somebody who was sitting in the room with my entire portfolio invested in Enron stock, and they're shredding the papers in front of me. I'm just like, what's going on here? Like I bought into the advanced stats, and I'm here to tell you I care about sacks again. Sacks matter more to me now than pressure rate. Sacks matter more to me now than pass rush win rate. Go get sacks. Go get sacks. I don't care if you're cleaning guys up. I don't care if you're beating your guy one-on-one. I don't care if they have to blitz 9 guys for somebody to get a sack. I'm here to tell you the advanced stats are not as important to me anymore as just sacks are. Go get sacks.
I'm very proud of you, Cody. I'm very proud of you. Allow me to get a piece of paper. I'll let you start with the offensive line, and then I'll give my thoughts. Assess the offensive line.
Well, the left tackle just looks totally lost. He doesn't understand the requirements of the job. They can't leave him on an island. You got the announcers begging for help. When he gets help, he lets a guy just fly past him and nearly kill the quarterback. The left guard 1 is old and can't move the pile. The left guard 2 is young and can't move the pile. The center is overmatched. It's a guy that's, lives in the margins, and most of the time the margins bowl him over. The right guard, PFF Ed, turns out not very good. Got smoked in that moment, had a horrible penalty that killed a drive. And the right tackle is the same guy that he's ever been. He'll block for 2-3 seconds, and if you got to block longer than that, tough. He didn't sign up for that. So they suck.
Yeah.
And there's nobody they can turn to. Your options are an unplayable second-round pick who was in as the 6th offensive lineman and false started, a veteran who's coming off of a serious knee injury, who's played close to 100 games and has never stuck as a long-term option anywhere in Trent Brown, some guy none of us have ever heard of off the Carolina Panthers practice squad. There's like a former Patriots guy on the practice squad, so I'm sure he'll get an opportunity here pretty soon because of where he played. What am I missing here? I'm sure there's another body that I'm forgetting on the offensive line. But yeah, Jared Patterson. Got beat out by a guy who played 78 snaps of football for the starting spot. So, try him at left guard. Can we turn left guard into a threesome? Can Jared Patterson get a crack at left guard? That may be a question I'm going to ask this week. Is when does Jared Patterson get into the guard rotation? That's something I want to know. But it's a hopeless situation because you have no hope. Like these guys have played, they've played to the back of there's not a back of the baseball card for offensive linemen. They've played to the PFF grade. They've played to the back of their PFF card. Like that's exactly the type of guys that they have been. is exactly what most people expected them to be this year. That's what the offensive line is.
So I know this offensive line stinks. Like I just don't I don't feel like they're put in position or that they play to their strengths on offense that overcome it. The thing for me that bothers me here is I thought the bullshit days of this guy gets an opportunity just because he's a vet were done. I thought they were done. And we see Laken Tomlinson yesterday play 57% of the snaps at left guard. You know what his percentage was the last 2 weeks? 0% and 20%. And a lot of it was in mop-up duty. So I'm really confused by how the hell that happens. That's just weird incompetence for that to happen. So yeah, they suck. Like this isn't an F performance, but I'm very skeptical about just throwing the offensive line under the bus because I think it can be overcome with competence. They just don't happen to have competence. So it's just it's the perfect mixture of disaster when it comes to offensive standpoint.
They suck as a baseline, and then they are put in positions to suck even more by the way the offense operates.
Yes, they're bad. Linebackers, where we at on the linebackers? Azeez Al-Shire with the bad penalty.
Can't wait to see him on Saturday night's main event.
Yeah, this linebacker's not great. Could have been worse. But not awful either.
Play more EJ Speed. He actually comes downhill and makes tackles. Play a little bit more EJ Speed.
Safeties, I thought outside of the Petrie blunders, I thought they were actually okay. Kalen Bullock had his first INT of the season, and MJ Stewart forced a turnover. So both your starting safeties, they forced turnovers and kind of kept you in the game.
Mm-hmm. Good job by the safeties.
Cornerbacks, I don't know why they're playing so deep. I think it kind of goes back to schematic. I don't want to nitpick the offense. Derek Stingley did have an interception. Kamari Lassiter hung in there, but he had some low points. But JSN was just a different class above the cornerback duo that we consider one of the better in the league.
Yeah, I don't know why. If Derek's there's two things. Either Derek Stingley is not one of the best cornerbacks in football, or he is one of the best cornerbacks in football and they don't use him right. I don't know why you don't put the best cornerback on your team on the best wide receiver and just try to make it work. And when you do put him on there, I don't know why you don't put him at the line of scrimmage and have him try to stop that guy instead of 5, 8, 10 yards off the guy and let him go out there and hit you with a little head movement and be open for a touchdown and then dunk on you.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that.
Stop it. He's not hurt. He's not on the injury report. We got to quit making excuses for Derek Stingley. He hasn't played well. We got to stop that. If you're on the field, you got to be able to make plays.
He doesn't.
Got to stop making plays. We got to stop making excuses for him.
He doesn't want that either. Now we go to coaching. Where are we at when it comes to coaching?
There's nothing worse than an expulsion, academic probation. That's what you're on, academic probation. The offensive coordinator has no feel for the game. The special teams coach allows errors in his range of stuff that he's in charge of, and the head coach lets it all happen. Academic probation.
Yeah, it's as bad as coaching can be is where this is. Like there's no way of sugarcoating it. Let's go back to the soup here on Reaction Tuesday.
You ain't never
Swarm.
Mushroom 713 says, I trust a monkey with open heart surgery more than Caserio drafting an offensive lineman. The blitzers were running from Bush Airport and CJ couldn't see them coming. Yeah, it's a bad combination of CJ's holding onto the ball and all that, and the offensive line. We went from Bobby Slowick to Nick Caley. Caley? Is that how we're saying it? Caley?
Faley. Yeah, I'm surprised it took us this long to come up with Nick Caley. That's a good job by that super chatter.
Rich Boy Jay says, but we won the turnover battle, Flex.
They might set the record for the amount of times they win the turnover battle and lose.
Yes, they might. Matt Marr says, just got home from my workout. What did I miss? You missed quite a lot.
The usual with the splice and a dash of like total ineptitude. Like it's one thing. Like again, it's the same thing over and over again. It's like if you go to a restaurant and like the food's not good, but the service is good. Like okay, like I appreciate your effort. Like the food just wasn't good, but like everything's bad. Like the hostess is rude. The food's not good. The server's bad. They bring you the wrong drink. They bring you the wrong food. It comes out cold. Like everything just goes wrong for this Texans team. And it all just builds on itself. And then they're like, oh, I'm sorry. We'll give you a free dessert. And the ice cream's actually cold. The brownie's actually hot. And it's like, that's the defense.
That was a crazy analogy by you, Cody. You must be hungry.
I've had crazier. But it works. It works.
Rich Boy Jay says Sting has chronic general soreness.
I don't know what's wrong with Derek Stingley, but he does not make plays that he previously made.
That was a good receiver. Maybe Jackson Smith and Jig was just better.
Yeah, I mean, Elijah Arroyo shouldn't be beating you.
So here's the question I have. There's two questions I have before we get out of here. Who makes these suspect decisions when it comes to the personnel? When we see an increase in Dare Gumbawale going from 4% and 1% of the snaps to 12%, and Juice Scruggs going from 80 to 100 down to 43, who makes these decisions? Is this just offense or is it DeMeco? Because it's the same type of decisions that were made last year. It kind of makes you wonder if maybe the head coach is the one making these decisions.
He allows it to happen. If he's not he has the power to walk over to Nick Caley and say, nope, put Juice Scruggs in. He has the power to walk over to Frank Ross and say, nope, put Jalen Nolan in. But he lets it happen. Yeah. And like he talked about dictating. He's like dictated this, dictated that from his. Go be a dictator. Go over there and play the players that are good and tell them to play the players that are good.
Cody calling for a dictator. You heard it here first on S&L. Cody calling for a dictator. He wants DeMeco to dictate a little bit more.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm. Matt Marr says at least KD suits up for the Rockets tonight. Yes, he does.
I can't wait to see how they spectacularly disappoint the city. The sports teams.
By the way, Texans Collective tonight at 6. 6 o'clock. Texans Collective, myself, Cody Stoots, Sean Pendergast, Reginald Atatula. Here's the thing that I want to get out of here on. What is the current state of the duo of CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryans? We'll put Nick Caserio to the side. I don't think anyone's pleased with his work. I think it's embarrassing that Cal and Hannah gave him a 2-year extension for no reason when they didn't have to. But the current state of the duo of CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryans, where are we at there?
You are in full evaluation mode of both of their jobs. You have to evaluate how DeMeco Ryans operates in the multitude of duties that he has as the top. Like DeMeco Ryans at the top of football in this organization. The only person that can override DeMeco Ryans in this organization, their last name is McNair. What DeMeco Ryans says goes. So you're in full assessment of how he operates as a head coach, from hiring coaches to his involvement with the acquisition of players, to his coaching of players, to his operations on game day, to everything. You're in full assessment of him. And then for CJ Stroud, you are in absolute assessment of what you can figure out with him. Because quarterback, you cannot be dead in the water with a giant quarterback contract. It tanks your franchise. It's an anchor that is too hard to operate with. So you are in full assessment mode of CJ Stroud, and you have to do the best you can to assess where he is as a quarterback before you make any sort of long-term commitment to him. And in the midst of assessing both of those guys, if you want to continue the relationship with both of them, you have to figure out how to best prop them up and accentuate their strengths and keep them from having their weaknesses accentuated.
Yeah, I think this is interesting. And DJ Bieneme put out a tweet, and I'll probably elaborate on this a little bit more tonight. And shout out to everyone who joined me for the post-game show from midnight to about 2, as well as this morning at 9 a.m. But, he said, because Sean Pendergast put out that the Texans, since their 6-2 start, they're 6-9 in the regular season, and they've beaten 6 bad teams. I think that's a good point. But DJ Bieneme of ESPN said this. I don't disagree with it, but I do think it does need to be looked at a little bit closer. And I promise this is going to tie back to the question that's on the screen right now. DJ said, quote, "It starts at the top. Things haven't been the same since that Thursday Night Football loss to the Jets. Really, to be honest, since that loss to the Packers when CJ Stroud had free rushers in his face all day." I would agree. That was October 20th of 2094. Or 2024. So that was
2094. I might still be bad on offense by then.
I'll be dead. But yeah, 2024. It's bright in here. He says it's October 21st. It's a year later, and we're still having the same convos. He says, quote, a blueprint has been put out on the Texans offense. This is all I'm going to say. If there's a blueprint on an offense and it's 2 different systems that aren't very similar, then that might be a deeper thing. Like, we're hearing CJ Stroud multiple times say, well, they played us with 2 high safeties. He's not the only guy in the league that plays with 2 high safeties. Maybe CJ Stroud just isn't capable of playing football when there's 2 high safeties, which, quite frankly, that's a problem. That means you're not a franchise guy. But if DJ Bieneme truly believes that there's a blueprint over a year stretch where there's 2 different systems, 2 different play callers, then that's a much deeper thing. And as we approach this offseason, where we've been talking for a while about, all right, you got to pay CJ Stroud, I don't think anyone's completely comfortable with it. And I do wonder, like, what does it look like with another quarterback with this good defense, maybe getting rid of the ball, maybe seeing things a little bit better? What does it look like? Do I think they need to bench CJ Stroud? No, but if there truly is, if the word blueprint is a reality and there's 2 different systems and we're hearing the same stuff and we're seeing the same stuff, then maybe we need to take a closer look at the quarterback. That's all I'm saying when it comes to the current state of DeMeco Ryans and CJ Stroud. And I think it's a fair question to ask, especially when you're approaching that period where you have to make a significant franchise-changing investment where, let's be honest, if you don't like the surroundings now and you don't trust the front office now, try having a $50-60 million quarterback and tell me how much easier those decisions get. How much easier it is to surround a quarterback with good stuff.
There should be no discussion anytime soon about a contract extension for CJ Stroud or Will Anderson, for that matter. There should be no conversation about a contract extension for either of them right now. That should be tabled until the offseason. You need to gather further data. And if you want to have that conversation right now, then the answer to both of them is no, do not extend them.
I'm with you. Appreciate everyone for rolling through. Let's go back to the chat real quick. One Mortal 2.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Tag CJ at this point or lock him up now cheap. It's not going to be cheap, and the franchise tag's damn sure not going to be cheap. That's going to be asinine. Bobby Slowick has "Damn it, Landry" soundbite button. Yes, he does. He should.
Damn it, Bobby. Damn it,
Damn
Bobby.
it, S&L.
I think I just looked outside. I saw Bobby Slowick running around my neighborhood pond. He's doing a little victory lap. And he was flipping me off while he was doing it. So yeah, it's okay, Bobby. You get the last laugh for the moment. Oh my God. We are less than 3 hours away from DeMeco Ryans' press conference. This has been a hell of a stretch of time and content. We're still 500 deep right now. Shout out to TDECU, the greatness it is, for sponsoring Reaction Tuesday, typically Reaction Monday. Again, TDECU.org/Texans. Get that pretty Texans debit card, 15% off team gear. You can get your Dare Gumbawale jersey for 15% off. You can get your Laken Tomlinson jersey for 15% off. And you know what? You got to get that Braxton Berrios, because nobody trips and falls on their face better than Braxton Berrios. Probably not the best live read I've ever done, but it is what it is. They understand.
Membership required, insured by the NCUA.
Yes, that's a fact. Appreciate y'all for rolling.
Those guys walked into a bank right now, they'd hit the panic button because they're robbing them blind.
Appreciate y'all for rolling through. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. And be sure to always remember, whether the Texans are good or bad, we're all in this together. We're not dependent on a good team. because we're going to cover it to the best of our ability, no matter what. Shout out to you, the people, for making this what it is. Goodbye.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.